Hey guys, it's Daniel, licensed therapist. Alexander Volkanovski, decent fighter. Let me look at the standings pound for pound. He is number three.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
How does this guy sleep at night? I mean, can this guy even get a date? Okay, I'm joking. He's arguably the best fighter on the planet. He beat Max Holloway, my questionable Asian brother. And is this guy Asian? Well, we'll take it. The self-proclaimed best boxer in the UFC. Three times, and as a huge Max fan, that was a difficult pill to swallow. And then he fights Henry Gracie's protege, Brian T. City Ortega, and in that fight, Brian locks in a fully mounted guillotine. And amazingly, Alexander gets out of it. I don't know how he did it. And then in the same round, Brian locks in a full triangle choke. And Alexander gets out of that too. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen because I don't know if you guys know this, but Brian T. City means triangle. So his specialty is the triangle choke. He got him in it and Alexander got out. I have no clue how he did it, but it was amazing and he came back to win that fight. But what really solidified Alexander's air of invincibility for me was his fight with Islam Makhachev. In that fight, Islam takes his back, locks in a full body triangle, but Islam can't do anything. In fact, Alexander is sitting there and in one point of the fight, Alexander is just talking crap. He's punching Islam from the bottom. I couldn't believe what I was seeing because Islam just didn't seem like he could get anything going from the back. And sure, Alexander lost that fight, but after that fight, he still retained his number one pound for pound ranking because he was just so impressive in that fight. And I don't know what you guys think, but if it was a fight to the death, I'm thinking Alexander takes that one.
Look at that! Amazing. Even if this fight.
And I just generally see Alexander as this easygoing, not a care in the world Aussie. It just seems like he's invincible physically and mentally. Until this happened.
It is hard. Like it really is hard for athletes. Sorry. I never thought I'd struggle with it, but I mean, like for some reason, when I wasn't fighting or in camp, sorry.
So not only is this guy human, but he's got something psychological going on. Luckily for you, your guy's a pro and he can explain everything. But first off, I want to say this. Alexander gets paid a lot of money to get locked in a cage with another fighter and do his best to beat this guy to death until someone pulls him off. I can understand if you guys think, well, this is a little unrelatable. But you know what? The things that he's dealing with is actually very relatable to, I would say, everybody. Just to set the stage, this clip comes from the press conference right after he got head kicked into oblivion in the first round of his second fight with Islam Makhachev. So this is the press conference. Let's see what he says.
I could have made better decisions but again, like he's not somebody you should be taking a short notice with, but I needed it. Again, obviously a lot of people will say it's for the money and all that. But it was much more than that. Like, it is hard. Like, it really is hard for athletes. Sorry. I never thought I'd struggle with it, but I mean, like for some reason, when I wasn't fighting or in camp, sorry. I was just doing my head in. I needed a fight, and then this opportunity come up, and I'll be honest, I wasn't train as much as I should have, but I thought I had to, I had to do it. I had to take it. I thought it would be, I'm telling myself it's meant to be. Obviously, I was struggling a little bit, not fighting, doing my head in. I don't know how. Everything's fine. I've got a beautiful family, but I don't know. I think you just need to keep busy. So that's why, I just ask the UFC to just keep me busy because I need to be keeping busy. I need to be in camp. Otherwise, I'm going to do my head in. So that's yeah. I'll leave it at that.
So like I said, he just got head kicked into oblivion, and then he says this strange phrase. He says he does his head in when he's not fighting. I'm not too sure what that means. I think it's some kind of Aussie phrase, but obviously means he's not doing well if he's not fighting. He wants the UFC to keep him busy. He's almost begging for another fight, to fight right away. And he's thankful for this fight because he says he needed it. You know, if I got head kicked into oblivion in front of millions of people and my loved ones, you know what I do? I'd probably hesitate going back in that cage. I'd probably take a minute to reassess, maybe regroup, maybe reevaluate. But I wouldn't be begging to get in the cage. But he is almost anxious about it. And I think that's the first clue that tells us that something is off with him. He goes on, let's see if he can't clarify what's going on with him.
I want to be sensitive to what you're saying, and you don't have to reveal anything you don't want to reveal, but you're used to saying something like Tyson Fury's spoken about in the past, that if I'm not fighting, I get dark places and I start getting down, or are you saying you get bored? What exactly do you mean by you need to stay busy before, or it does your head in?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I've never believed, not believed in that stuff. Like I never got it. It was something that, I don't know. Maybe the more and more I learn about myself, the more and more I understand. I don't know. It was different. It was a decision I chose. I talked about us having a smile on my face, me and my wife. Obviously, my wife could see that it does get hard. I don't know why. You know what I mean? Like I think it was just so much going on with obviously the surgery and then the baby and. And then I just needed to get in camp. So, and then this fight come up. I'm like, it's meant to be. Let's do it. So I thought that was what it was, but maybe it was just a silly decision under them circumstances. Again, they're decisions you don't want to make against someone like Islam, and I'm not taking nothing away from him.
Well, he tried to clarify what's going on with him, but I don't think he really did it. I mean, it seemed to me like he was really struggling. He mentioned something about having a baby. I don't know if he's not exactly happy with what's going on at home, but it's not very clear. But what is clear is he can't articulate it. And it seems like he lacks the insight. Maybe it's from lack of ability, or maybe it's from lack of time trying to figure out what's going on. But whatever it is, he doesn't understand what's going on with him. Well, let me take a stab at it. And I think it's two things actually that's going on with him. And it can be either one, or it could be a combination of both. I'm guessing it's a combination of both because they are closely related. But let me lay them out to you one by one. My first guess is what's going on with him has to do with his low self-esteem. And you guys are probably saying, like, what are you talking about? Alexander Volkanovski? This guy is world famous, cage fighter, beats people up. He has a problem with self-esteem? Well, I would say, yeah. Self-esteem is very interesting because it can be held up artificially by certain things. Like, we can have a general low self-esteem, but it would appear that we have a high self-esteem if we are able to perform in some kind of way very, very well. And I think we see that in a lot of athletes. Athletes are out there and they get a lot of fame, they get a lot of money and attention. But what happens when they retire? Or what happens when they get hurt and they no longer have that? Well, they're left with the question of, what am I without this? And if you don't have a high self-esteem, if you don't value yourself, if you don't love yourself, that question can lead to a very dark place. So that is what I think is going on. And that's why he has this desperate need to continue to fight. Because if he continues to fight, then that would feed his low self-esteem, and he won't be faced with the prospect of not having his self-esteem artificially boosted or scaffolded up by something. And secondly, I believe he is using fighting for escapism. And escapism is something we all do. You've seen it and I've seen it. It's when people watch Netflix, when people eat, when people work out, maybe they're drinking or doing drugs or having sex. It's one of these things that people do just to get away from life. The thing about escapism is we can do it too much. It can get in the way of life. You know that person who is a non-functional alcoholic and they drink to escape. If we are doing it way too much, that means we are running from something. Something happened, or he's having some kind of psychological distress. And that is a reason why he would use something like fighting to escape. So those are my two takes. Alexander is using escapism and he's using fighting to bolster up his low self-esteem, which sounds pretty crazy. And I know you guys probably might disagree with that, but that's what I think is going on. And if Alexander was my client, what would I do with him? Well, the very first thing I would do with him is I would explore with him what is going on, because it seems like he lacks an understanding and he lacks insight. And that is what we need to start addressing these issues. The very first thing we need to do is understand what is going on inside of us and why we're thinking and feeling the way that we are. So insight is such a huge thing. And I feel like if Alexander had that insight, he would be well on his way to shoring up these difficulties, because one day fighting is going to stop. That's a reality for him. And when that day comes, all of the stuff that he is fighting to avoid is gonna be there face to face. So it's better for him just to get it out of the way and take care of this so that he can just fight just to enjoy fighting. If that's something I'm sure these guys enjoy fighting. So that is what I would do with Alexander. And that's what I think is going on with him. But do you disagree? I could be wrong. I seriously doubt it, but there's a possibility. So if you think I'm wrong, let's duke it out in the comment section down there, if you dare. Thanks for watching, you guys. I'll see you next time.